Hey, what's up you guys? I got another Pokemon Sword and Shield Wi-Fi battle for you here today, and this is actually going to be the last video I have of battles for the Sword and Shield Gen 8 era, so it's kind of bittersweet, but we're going to focus on that later in the video. So for now, let's jump right into the battle. My opponent here it looks like they have a Gen 1 starters and Gen 8 starters, but for some reason they don't have Rillaboom, they just have Regidrago instead, but that's okay. I have the Rillaboom, and I actually have a full Gen 8 team just to have, a little send-off for Gen 8. And these are all my favorite Gen 8 Pokemon that I love to use in battle. So let's jump right into it, guys. My opponent is going to be sending out their first Pokemon, which is the Inteleon. And actually, look at this. A perfect video for Gen 8 for my opponent here to go along with the theme of Final Gen 8 with the hacked Pokemon here. This is actually a full hacked Pokemon team my opponent has, so, pretty, what's the word? Embodiment's the word I'm thinking of. This full hack team is the embodiment of Gen 8. But my opponent here is going to go for the Ice Beam. I stayed in because I knew I could probably take one Ice Beam, and I do. We're at 23 health with the Rillaboom. This is a max HP Rillaboom. Let's just get the knockoff going, which does a lot of damage. And it actually reveals that they didn't have an item on this Inteleon, so this might not be the most experienced person I'm battling, but I thought it was funny anyway to post. So the grassy terrain is up, so the grassy glide gives us priority, and we can knock it out with the grassy glide with one more shot. So, okay start by Rillaboom. The Life Orb is going to knock us down though, so that's okay. Rillaboom will be back in another battle. So on the open battlefield, my opponent is going to be sending out the classic Gen 8 Pokemon, Machamps.com, the shiny Libero Cinderace. And I was actually expecting that, so I sent out my Corviknight here as some bait. I have a Centiskorch with Flame Body in the back, so we're going to be swapping out the Corviknight and sending out the Centiskorch. So on the switch, the bait does work. My opponent goes for the Fireball, the Pyro Ball, and the Flash Fire is going to soak that up. So here, I actually make a mistake. I go for the Fire Lash because I forget how Flash Fire works. I don't know if it only lasts for one turn or for the entire time Centiskorch is out, so I thought I would take advantage of the Fire Lash by going for here on this turn, but I forgot that Cinderace always has U-turns. They're going to swap out and do the obvious play and send into Blastoise, which I really could have knocked out with the Power Whip, but I don't even know how Fire Flash works. So here comes the shiny Blastoise, the Pokegens.com. If you guys have any of these Pokemon, please don't use them or please get rid of them. They're all hacked Pokemon. It's very naughty. Not good for the game. But the Blastoise is going to be taking that really well. They do get the -1 in defense, which is useful. And I could go for the Power Whip here, but I know that this Blastoise is probably going to outspeed me, so I'm going to swap out the Centiskorch actually and send out the shiny Toxtricity. And I don't think I've mentioned this before, but this is actually like a special event Toxtricity that was handed out at GameStops and stuff like that. I think that one of my best friends, her brother got it for me, so shout out to you for getting me that. Really appreciate it. Using it here in battle on the last video here for Sword and Shield Gen 8. But my opponent's going to Dynamax here into the Gigantamax Blastoise, which is actually a great play. I really hate Dynamax. It catches me off guard every time. They're going to either go for the G-Max Cannonade, and after this damage, and after like the residual damage that the move does at the end of the turn, Toxtricity isn't going to be able to get up a shift gear and get the Rising Voltage off, which sucks. And actually, as you'll see in a second, this Blastoise is going to outspeed me. So I basically sent out Toxtricity just to take 2 turns of Dynamax and get knocked down. So that really sucks, but we'll see Toxtricity again, just like Rillaboom, later in the video. So my opponent and their Blastoise have one more turn of the Dynamax. So I'm going to be sending out Corviknight on the switch-in to see if I can soak that last turn up. You get it soaked, it's a water move. Soak that last turn up of Dynamax so we can get that out of the way. I'm just going to be going for the Body Press because I think that's what will do the most damage here. I probably could have gone for a Roost just to get some health back and maybe live a little bit longer. I didn't want to go for the Brave Bird for the recoil just in case I didn't live this hit. But here comes the G-Max Cannonade. It's going to do around half damage, so Corviknight takes it pretty well. The Body Press isn't going to do too much, which kind of sucks, but I wasn't expecting too much. What sucks is that residual damage there, that the Corviknight gets stuck in the Vortex, is going to do a lot of damage. So Corviknight's below half even after leftovers, but the Gigantamax is over, which is clutch, and we still have our Dynamax in our back pocket for when we need it. Now that we're not in Dynamax, my opponent shows they have the Skull, so it's a special attacking Blastoise, and they actually get the burn on the skull, which really sucks because we go for the Brave Bird this turn, which probably wasn't going to do that much damage, but now it does even less damage. And after the recoil, the vortex, and the burn, even with the leftovers, Corviknight's going to get down to 3 HP, so this is going to be Corviknight's last move. We're not going to switch it out, there's no point switching it out, we're just going to let this Blastoise take us out with one more Scald. So after the Corviknight goes down, Team Gen 8 here isn't doing so hot, besides, the burn. We're down 3 Pokemon and my opponent's only lost 1, but the good news is, we're going to be switching in to Cramorant, and this thing is an absolute menace. Just look at the death stare in his eyes right there. We're going to be Dynamaxing here. I want to see if we can get a little late game sweep going. I was looking over my opponent's Pokemon that they have left, and this Cramorant actually has a super effective move against all, if not most of the Pokemon that they have remaining, besides this Blastoise, but it's on weaker health, so we're going to be going for the Max Airstream to see if we can outspeed the Pokemon they have in the back, like the Cinderace. And once we have the outspeed, like the faster speed Cramorant, we should be able to knock out a few things. So we go for the Max Airstream there. That is going to be enough to take out the Blastoise, and we do get the +1 in speed. So we're setting up our Cramorant here for the late game sweep. My opponent's next Pokemon is going to be the Venusaur, which is probably the biggest threat to this Cramorant right now. The good news is that even if I don't do enough damage, this Cramorant still has the Focus Sash, so we should be able to take out this Venusaur just fine. So here comes the Max Airstream. We're now going to be having +2 in attack, and it actually does enough damage to take out the Venusaur in one shot, which is great. After knocking out that Venusaur, we're now back to even 3 Pokemon each, and my opponent's Pokemon is going to be the Charizard. It's not the shiny one, the cool shiny orange, but it's the regular black Charizard, but we're obviously going to outspeed. I'm not sure why they sent this in. I guess they don't have that many things that could take a move from Cramorant, but we just go for the Max Geyser. This lets us get the rain up now that we got the Max Geyser off. So Hurricane, once we're out of Dynamax, will do 100% accuracy with the rain and tons of damage. So there goes the rain, there goes the Charizard, and now he's down to 2 Pokemon. All he has left is the Regidrago and the Cinderace, and this Cramorant has super effective moves against both of them, as long as, the Libero Cinderace doesn't change typing. So out of the 2 Pokemon, my opponent decides to go with the Regidrago first to send out there, and that's going to be Cramorant going back to normal size. So great use of Dynamax right there. That's why I think Dynamax is really OP, because it, this really changed the entire momentum of the match, which is good, if you were losing, but it kind of sucks if you were ahead and just stay ahead the whole time. But here comes the Ice Beam. I was debating whether to go for the Surf or not, just to get that Gulp Missile going, but I decided to go for the Ice Beam. That Dragon Claw is going to take us down to 1 HP, which is an interesting move. Usually the Regidragos go for that special move it's got, but it doesn't really matter. I had the Focus Sash, would have lived anyway. But here comes the second Ice Beam, and that's going to be taking out the Regidrago. So my opponent is down to their last Pokemon, and Cramorant is looking to complete the almost sweep. I think it's taken out 5 Pokemon out of the 6. But in order to get that 5 out of 6 sweep, Cramorant is going to have to take out one of the faces of Pokemon Sword and Shield, the Cinderace. So we're just going to click Surf here. But unfortunately for me, and for Cramorant especially, my opponent did end up having the Sucker Punch in the Cinderace. So Cramorant is going to be going down there. But that was great. That's why, Cramorant's really fun to use. And I didn't even use the Gold Missile ability in that battle, which is honestly the cool thing about Cramorant. But now it's time to send out one of my other favorite Gen 8 Pokemon, which is the Centiskorch. I really love this design. Looks really cool. Not the best Pokemon, but it could do some stuff if you put it in the right situations. Just like right here. I thought about going for the Coil, but I let the Cinderace go for the Sucker Punch just so I can get the super effective Leech Life on this thing. And it being max attack with Adamant Nature, it is going to be taking out the Centiskorch in one shot and gaining back all of its HP. So that's the end of the match right there, guys. That was a really cool match. It really shows you how powerful Dynamax is, and I don't think I'm going to miss it at all when Gen 8 comes around. But we'll see how Terastallizing is. Maybe I'll be eating my words whenever the Gen 9 Terastallize comes out. But let's jump into the next battle. And this battle is going to be quite interesting. No team previews. Jumping right in. We're going to be leading off with Rillaboom. That's our dedicated lead. He's a great lead. They're going to lead off with the Gigalith to get up that Sandstream going. I can easily go for a Drain Punch or a Grassy Glide here and probably knock out the Gigalith in one shot, depending on how defensive this thing is. I don't really face many Gigaliths, but I saw their team, so I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to go for the knockoff, just to knock off whatever items in case he does switch out, because he probably is going to switch out. So he does end up switching here. Now the question is, what is he going to switch into? Let's see if I guess right. And his next Pokemon is going to be the Shedinja. So if you guys don't know, Shedinja has this ability called Wonder Guard. It can only be hit by super effective moves. So if I would have gone for the Grassy Glide, it would have done nothing. But I guess the Shedinja switch got the super effective knockoff and knocked it out in one shot. And my opponent was so frustrated that I knocked out the Shedinja and got the precision right that they just immediately rage quit and decided, you know what, I'm done playing Pokemon for the day. I think that's the record for the fastest rage quit, but let's go into the next one. No team previews this time. We're jumping right in. They're going to lead with the Arcanine as I decided to lead, my dedicated lead for this team, which is the Rillaboom with the U-turn in case they ever want to pivot. And speaking of pivots, we're going to do that right here. We're just going to go for the U-turn. We know we outspeed. I don't know if this is a bulky Arcanine or more of a, well, it's got Intimidate. It's probably a bulkier defensive one. And actually, you'll see in a second it has a leftover. It's definitely a bulky one, but I don't know that yet. So we're going to U-turn, swap straight into Centiskorch, see if we can get that, what's it called? The Flame Absorb? It's not Flame Absorb, but you know, the boost with the fire move. So here comes the Centiskorch, and my opponent actually is going to be going for the Flare Blitz here. And that's gonna be activating the Flash Fire. That's what it's called, Flash Fire. So now my fire type attacks are, I think they're increased in damage by a little bit. But I actually wasn't paying attention. I was checking my computer for certain stats on this Pokemon, and I completely missed what happened to this move. So I had no idea I had the boosted fire type move there. What sucks is with swapping Centiskorch into a fire type Pokemon is that I can't really hit it for neutral damage. So I'm kind of counting on that Flash Fire. So I'm gonna go for the Coil just to get a little more damage. But the only ground type move Centiskorch gets is Scorching Sand, so this is a physical. I don't want to give it the special type move, but it doesn't really matter anyway because he's gonna roar me out of there, swap in my Surfetched. And what sucks with leading off with Rillaboom is with the Grassy Surge is that this Arcanine is getting leftover health back and the Grassy Surge health back, so it's already at full health. But we're gonna go for the first impression just to get the damage off, make a good first impression. They go for the Play Rough, and that does not a lot of damage. There's a max HP Surfetched, but still that was super effective. So. You know, this is definitely a bulky Arcanine. And here, I'm going to make a misplay. I actually go for the Sword Dance, thinking that I would outspeed this thing, but I actually don't. So I'm going to end up going for the Sword Dance, and he's going to end up going for the Flare Blitz, but since he outspeeds, my Sword Dance doesn't really do anything. As long as I can't hit it, it's going to knock me out with one more hit. It doesn't matter what he uses. So that was a bad play. He does get hit with Recoil, but he's going to get all that back from the Grassy Surge and the leftovers. So I decided to save my Surfetch just because it has that first impression. I feel like it can be useful for a revenge kill. So I'm going to be swapping out, sending out that Centiskorch again, see if he goes for the Flare Blitz. But actually he goes for the Play Rough this time, which is a smart move. Actually does a little damage. This is also that was actually a critical hit. It's a max HP Centiskorch. I think I've mentioned this before, but he takes that really well. The problem is, like I said before, that I can't really hit this thing for good damage. So this has been a really stally start to the match. This Arcanine is walling me out. The only thing that can hit it with super effective damage is my Cramorant, but I'm trying to save that for a different Pokemon on the team, as you'll see later. I just decided to go for the Leech Life this time, see if I can get some life back, but actually he's going to swap out. I guess he realized he couldn't do anything either, so he swaps out, sends out the Milotic, and this Leech Life is actually going to do a lot of damage. It's a 2-hit KO, and I get my health back there. The problem is that this thing outspeeds me, so I'm going to have to swap out here, save the Centiskorch, just in case that Arcanine comes back. So on the swap, we're going to be sending out Corviknight because this is really my only major wall that I carry on this team, just because I didn't want to carry too many walls. I wanted to showcase some of the other offensive Pokemon in this generation. But this is actually going to go for a Coil, which is really interesting. A Coil Milotic. I don't think I've ever seen one of those online. Usually it's just, the wall Milotics. But I'm going to go for the Body Press, as they decide to go for the Rain Dance here. So I don't know what they're setting up. I don't know if they just want to get more damage or if they have Hydration as their ability. I don't even know if Milotic gets Hydration, or wherever it is they get health back from the rain. But I go for the Body Press, and this thing is barely going to live. That barely did any damage, but one more Body Press is going to take him out. I just had to go for the Brave Bird, just in case they swap into the Dragapult, which is the Ghost type. So here my opponent's going to catch me completely off guard, and they're going to go for the Dynamax Milotic, which has very little health. And they're going to go for the Max Geyser, which is interesting, because, Max Geyser sets up the rain. So they already set up the rain, so I guess they just wanted the power boosted on this Max Geyser. Either way, interesting move. But we're going to be living this Max Geyser decently well. This is a max defense, not max special defensive wall. It doesn't matter though, we live it, and we're able to go for the Brave Bird. But I was worried that this thing wasn't going to take it out with the Brave Bird, but luckily enough, Corviknight is a big enough bird to knock that thing out, and it just blows up. I love that animation. That is one thing I'll miss about Dynamax. The blowing up. We do take some recoil, but not too much. And then Corviknight's sitting alright. My opponent's next Pokemon they're going to be sending in is the Heliolisk, which is a cool Pokemon. I don't really have one of those, but I'd like to use one. Maybe I'll train one of these days. But I think we're getting to the end of the game, so maybe not. But I'm going to stay in. No point switching out. I went for the body press just in case this thing decided to set up on me, but they actually go for the Volt Switch, and Corviknight is going to be going down. But since they knocked me out on the Volt Switch, they actually have to send out a Pokemon first, and then I can send mine, so I can see what they're going to send out, and then set up a matchup accordingly. And they're going to decide to send out the Zacian, so I guess that makes sense. This thing doesn't really have bad matchups, except for one Pokemon. This guy right here, the Cramorant. I've been saving this Cramorant for this Zacian. We're going to see if we can get this indoor strategy to work one last time before Gen 8 ends. So we're going to go for the Surf. We got the Focus Sash. Whatever they click, they'll go first. We'll get the Surf. We'll get that Pikachu in our mouth. So far, so good. And it did 50% damage, which is pretty good. So, next, we'll go for the Endure. So we'll live this hit. We'll hit him in the face with the Pikachu. And they'll get paralyzed and do, I think, 25% damage. So once they're paralyzed, they'll get half speed. And the Zacian at half speed is too slow for a Cramorant, so we'll be able to outspeed and knock it out with one more Surf. But there goes the Pikachu, right on the face, and there goes the paralysis. So plan is going great. The rain stopped, but that's okay. We don't need the damage off of the rain. The Surf should be enough. So like I said, we outspeed, so we do go first. So we're just going to click Surf here, and I guess my opponent realized the strategy, and they're going to swap out their Zacian, their precious Zacian, and swap in the Heliolisk, which actually has Dry Skin. I forget this thing has Dry Skin, so this Surfer is going to do no damage, and I don't even get my Pikachu in my mouth, which really sucks. It would have been really nice. So it sucks that Cramorant really couldn't take out the Zacian, but you know what? I'll count that as a knockout. That Zacian could do nothing to this Cramorant, but we're just going to click Ice Beam. There's nothing that Cramorant can really do now if we swap him out, so no point in doing that. The Heliolisk actually there goes for the Thunder, so maybe that's why they wanted to set up the rain, but the Thunder ends up missing, so we get an extra Ice Beam to hit this Heliolisk, which was actually really nice. This time they go for the Volt Switch, which obviously is going to take out the Cramorant. But again, since they knocked me out on the switch, they have to send out a Pokemon first, and then I'll be sending my matchup accordingly. Again. This time they send back out the Arcanine. So here comes that wall again, and I just realized I saved that Cramorant for the Zacian, but now I have nothing that could hit this Arcanine for super effective damage. So the only Pokemon I really have that can hit this thing really hard is the Toxtricity. I'm just going to go for the Boom Burst. That's going to activate my Throat Spray. I wasn't sure if this was going to knock out the Arcanine, but they actually outspeed me and go for the Fire Fang. It doesn't do too much damage. And here comes the Boom Burst, and this is actually going to take it down to like 1 HP. Literally, I think it's 1 HP. Insane. No Focus Sash, because they had the leftovers. I couldn't believe it. And what sucks is, my Throat Spray got activated, but I forgot that this thing has Roar. So since I forgot this thing has Roar, I actually go for the Shift Gear here to get the +1 in speed, hoping I can get a little Toxtricity sweep going. But they're going to go for the Roar, swap me out, and I lose my Shift Gear boost and my Throat Spray boost, which really sucks, because that really could have been useful to sweep the rest of the team. So Roar randomly switches one of my Pokemon into the match, and it's going to be the Rillaboom, which isn't awful, but also sucks because I get the Grassy Surge up, so this thing's going to be, you know, gaining health back. But I guess so am I. So with the Rillaboom, we're just going to go for the knockoff, just in case he decided to swap out for whatever reason. But he stays in. The knockoff knocks off the leftovers, and then it knocks off the Arcanine from the match. So we do take some Life Orb damage, but we're going to gain some of that back with the grassy terrain. So now, my opponent's going to be able to send out a new Pokemon, which is going to be the Dragapult. So I'm going to end up switching out here just because Rillaboom is really useful for the remaining Pokemon he has left, besides this Dragapult. I'm going to be sending out Surfetch just for the free switch after the knockout. So here comes Dragapult with a Tri-Attack. You don't see that too often. And we're actually going to live on 4 HP, which is kind of crazy. Too bad it doesn't matter though, because this Surfetch is going to get outsped by the Dragapult. So anything that this Dragapult's going to click is going to knock us out. And this time they go for the Hex, which is another interesting move on a Dragapult. Usually you see the setup version ones, or you see the all-out attack ones, either special or physical. So our next Pokemon going in is going to be the Toxtricity. And after seeing the strange moveset, I thought about going for a Shift Gear here just to boost up my speed. But I ended up deciding just to go for the Sludge Wave in case he swaps out, and maybe to get the poison off. They end up going for that tri-attack again, and Toxtricity's going to live that really well. So I don't know what kind of setup they got going on here, but I know I could live another tri-attack easily. So on this next turn, after this Sludge Wave that doesn't do too much damage, I am going to be ending up going for that Shift Gear, just to boost my speed up a little bit. I guess my opponent realizes that they're not doing too much damage, so they're going to swap out here and send out the Heliolisk. So I get the free Shift Gear on this turn, which is pretty good. So now I should be able to outspeed pretty much everything, and I don't have my Throat Spray, but I will be hitting things pretty hard still with the Boom Burst, and this Toxtricity's ability is the, I forget what it's called, but it's the one where when he does a sound-based move, he does extra damage. So here comes the Boom Burst, and it is going to do enough damage to knock out the Heliolisk, which is great. There was a crit, that crit didn't matter, but I thought my opponent was going to make an elaborate play where they're going to switch back into Dragapult, and the Boom Burst is a normal type move. It wouldn't have affected the Ghost type Dragapult, but he did not end up doing that. So he's making some interesting moves that aren't too, I don't know, he's hard to predict. But now since we did get that Shift Gear up, we are faster than Dragapult, like I said. We do get the Sludge Wave off, and it's not going to be doing enough damage, but they're going to go for the Assurance, which is another. So they have Assurance, Tri-Attack, Hex. They get the critical hit, but it's still not going to be enough to knock us out. They are going to get some leftover health back, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to be able to outspeed, go for one more Sludge Wave, and knock this thing out. So here comes the Sludge Wave, and this Dragapult is going to be going down. Psych! It actually lives on 1 HP. I thought I knocked it. I couldn't tell I had a little sliver of health there. So that's another Pokemon living on red, just like that Arcanine. And we're going to get knocked out by this weird-ass Dragapult, bro, with the Tri-Attack. That leftover damage really did help. If it wasn't for the leftovers, he would have been knocked out. My next Pokemon is going to be the Centiskorch, and I sent Centiskorch out here because I believe this is a good opportunity to go for some coils and start setting up. I know this thing can't do too much damage to me. Its moves aren't the greatest. I don't know what that fourth move is, but they just go for the Tri-Attack. I do live it really well with the max HP, but I get frozen. What are the odds, bro? I'm having some pretty bad luck this match, man. We had that Arcanine live on a sliver of health, and then the Dragapult live on 1 HP. So this thing should be gone. It should be knocked out. But instead, my Centiskorch is frozen, and my Toxtricity is no longer in the battle. So they're going to go for a Hex now. It does pretty decent damage. But the weird thing is here, I'm frozen, and I can't move. But somehow, I'm able to eat my berry after that hit. So I don't know what Centiskorch is doing there. Maybe it's frozen on the inside. He can move inside, but he can't get out of the ice. I don't know. Either way, this Dragapult is causing us a lot of trouble. I feel like fire types shouldn't even be able to get frozen. Just like electric types can't get paralyzed and poison types can't get poisoned. Like, I feel like it makes sense that the fire types can't get frozen. But we're getting down to the end of the battle here. I'm leaving my Centiskorch here just because I feel like there's no point switching out. I mean, we got 3 minutes left in the battle. Somehow I haven't taken out this Centiskorch, this Dragapult. And look how much, it had 1 HP, and because of all the leftovers, it's back up to yellow. So I was hoping I would have been unfrozen by now, but nope. This thing is actually able to take us out after the freeze, which really sucks. We had a pretty decent lead, and we were in a pretty good position there, but now we're down to our last Pokemon, which is going to be the Rillaboom, and this guy has 2 left besides this Dragapult. He's got 3 left. But if anybody can make this comeback, it's going to be my starter Pokemon from Gen 8, Rillaboom. So the Dragapult is going to finally show the 4th move that they got. It's going to be the U-turn, so it's going to be returning back. I went for the knockoff just because I knew I could take out the Dragapult with the knockoff. It's super effective, and in case he swapped out, I could knock off whatever item of anything that was going to come in next. And the next Pokemon is going to be the Lucario. So we're going to knock off the Black Belt off from the Lucario, and now I've realized we've saved our Dynamax to the very end. So we're going to be Dynamaxing our Rillaboom here. We have the Life Orb, and I'm not going to be able to Drain Punch while in Dynamax, but there's not that many Pokemon left, so we're going to risk it. Dynamax. Get the +1 in attack off the Drain Punch, and hopefully have enough life and outspeed everything to where we can defeat the rest of this team. So 60 seconds left here, down to the wire. We are going to be able to outspeed, and we are going to be able to go for the max Knuckle here and get that +1 in speed, and knocking out the Lucario. The +1 in attack is nice, but the reason I don't like Gigantamaxing or Dynamaxing the Rillaboom is because now he can't do Grassy Glide. And he can't get the Drain Punch, so he doesn't have the priority or the health regen. So that's what usually, but he's my last Pokemon, so I have to Dynamax him. And now the next Pokemon coming in is going to be the Dragapult is going to outspeed, but after seeing its moveset, it could go for a U-turn, but I don't think it'd kill. Either way, I'm knocking something out this turn, and this I think is going to be the last turn. Here comes the Tri-Attack. We live that easy. Max Darkness here is going to take out the Dragapult. So we're both down to our last Pokemon now with 2 seconds left. So this is the last turn of the match. The match is over. And the tiebreaker is, I believe, whoever has the most health. And I really don't have a lot of health left. But I forgot my opponent had the Zacian in the back. So now we just have to see who has more health and whoever has more wins. So here comes the Zacian. 0 seconds left. If it wasn't for the timer, I easily would have won just because it's paralyzed, so I easily outspeed, and after a +1, we can go for the Drain Punch and knock that out in one shot. But instead it goes to the tiebreaker. Both of us on yellow health. This could go either way, but we do end up taking the dub there on the last match. What a poetic finish. It's our starter Pokemon, the very first Pokemon we got in Gen 8. It started as a Grookey, and now it's taking dubs for us as a Rillaboom against Zacians, the legendary from the region. But that's going to be it for Gen 8, guys. I really appreciate all of you that have stuck around and watched those videos I've posted. It's been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed this region of this game. This is definitely the Pokemon game that I've played the most and put the most hours in and put the most effort in. It's definitely the one I've enjoyed the most, competitively and I think game-wise. It started off kind of rough, but in the end, I really enjoyed this game, and I think I'll be coming back every now and then. So now it's on to Gen 9, Scarlet and Violet. I don't know how I'll be able to post, or how quickly I'll be able to post matches and stuff like that. I might be posting maybe gameplay, but I'm so busy with these final exams that I don't know if I'll be able to have that until maybe a little while, because it does take a lot of time to build these teams. So again, guys, thank you, really appreciate it. Hope you had a good time watching. I'll see you soon, hopefully. See you.